All right, back at it. Very, very exciting news. So got the frame today, just got home with it, went and picked it up, and boy, let me tell you, I cannot believe how incredibly good condition this frame is. Let me get this camera flipped around and show you some close-ups. So if you've watched the other videos, we talked about the back panel, this C-channel, it's gonna be replaced. That I'm not worried about. Everything else, man, no holes, no significant damage. I can't see any repairs from back in the day. You know, something of this age, I guess I could, you know, almost expect it, but this thing is in remarkably good shape. And it just goes to show, like, you know, factory, you know, the standards weren't quite what you might think they were back in the day, even though they built stuff to last, obviously, but this thing was in incredible condition. I'm so thankful for the company that helped me out. They did a fantastic job. So yeah, this is where we're at. I mean, look at that. You know, I can't think of a better surface to do my welding and fabricating that's coming up, which you guys will see. I promise we will get to some welding and some fabricating. But in order to get there, I felt like this was a necessary step because it cleans all the metal for me to the, you know, the best that I could get it. Yeah, I could have wire wheeled it. I probably could have flap disced it, but it would have took forever. And this is probably one of the few things that I'm going to splurge on when it comes to outsourcing some things. I've never had a full frame blasted before, so yeah, thank God I did. So anyways, sorry about that. So you guys will be seeing that soon. I'm getting it unloaded now from the trailer. Got the metal from the previous video I told you, so I'll be able to start making patterns right away. For those of you interested in patterns, that'll be coming up, so stay tuned. Also wanted to take a quick second and talk to the viewers who watch my channel about the analytics of YouTube. So that lets me see the numbers of like who's watching the videos, the age group, male, female, and that sort of thing. And I'm surprised and am proud to tell you that 3.2% of my viewers are female. So that's really cool, and I appreciate you watching my videos and checking things out. Be right back. Sorry about that, I'm back. I was getting a phone call and it was messing up the recording. Let me get to where the light's not too tasteful. There we go. So yeah, like I was saying, 3.2 or 3.4% of my viewers are female. So again, thank you for coming to the channel and checking this out. And I know there's lots of ladies of low riding. I can think of one club specifically with Supernatural that's got Tina, I believe is her name. She's got a 66 and is currently building a 64. I can't remember, but beautiful cars, excellent work. So yeah, thank you for watching. And to everyone else, I appreciate all the comments. You guys are fantastic, and you know, asking questions and telling me about your projects, and that's really cool. It's cool that we can connect with people that's doing the same thing we are. So yeah, keep that up, and thank you for liking and sharing and subscribing, those of you that have done that. I know these videos is, you know, a lot of more or less talking than it is working, but we're going to get into that, I promise you. It's just, these are some of the early steps of getting this ball rolling with, you know, putting my ducks in a row and getting to the next phase of my project. So up next will be definitely some A-arm work, and probably start making the pattern / templates for the frame so I can start the reinforcements. So thanks again, and we'll see everybody again soon. Take care. Hey, what's up everybody? Back at it on the 64. Today's Sunday, 24th. Just out here trying to get it done. Today's project's going to be building a budget frame rotisserie. If anybody's interested in this, this is the one for you. It's gonna be ugly, it's gonna be grimy, it's gonna be dirty, but it's gonna work in the end. And when I say budget, that's part of that. Just trying to keep costs down and doing this thing as cheap as I can, and hopefully somebody can pick up something from this and use it on their projects and their builds and what they're doing in the future. So what we got to start with is those guys right there. So this red one I already had. Luckily my neighbor, he gave it to me last year and passed it on to me, so I'm going to use it. Picked up this guy this morning. This is the Harbor Freight version, the orange one here. And basically it's just engine stands. And I'm going to modify this one because I need the center line to be pretty close to one another so I can get the frame centered in the rotisserie when I'm spinning it around and not having any issues with having everything line up. So I got to modify that one and extend it. I think it's about 1.5 inches, and I'm using the metal that I got here at the garage. Nothing fancy, not spending a whole bunch of money. The idea is to do this for less than $100 and have a frame rotisserie. That way I'm not, working on down on the ground trying to weld, and that stuff just wears on your knees and your legs and your feet, after 8 hours of doing that. So having this is gonna help a lot. So hang tight, we'll get you set up time lapse, and hopefully this will work out in the end. We'll see. Hang tight. Okay, so the idea is this is the upright for the engine hoist that I just bought, and it's roughly about 4 inches shorter than the previous one that I already owned. So the center line of how the frame would pivot on this stand and that stand out there would be different from one another. So I actually need to cut this and extend it about 4 inches. I don't have exactly the same dimensions as this, but I got something that will work. It is the same thickness, but it's not the same width. But by the time I weld this thing, it's really not going to support a whole lot of weight. This frame is incredibly light, and I know it's going to have the reinforcing and it's going to add some weight there, but what I'm going to do here isn't anything that's going to be anything catastrophic as far as, getting me injured or having this thing fall apart. It's going to be welded solid. And this will work. We're not talking about much. So get you set back up on a time lapse and we'll modify this thing and get some welding done. All right, so for everyone at home that might ask about what kind of welding setup I'm using, it's a very basic Lincoln unit. This one actually came from Lowe's probably maybe 15 years ago. I really can't remember. It's just a Pro MIG 140, which I believe they still make to this day. Something else to take note is I'm using shielding gas. So this is 75-25 mixture. This is not a flux core machine. This is a solid core MIG machine. And I think I've got 0.30 thousandths wire right now. And then, excuse the mess, but let's see. Grounds right to the table surface. This is just 1/8 inch steel plate on top of my old desk here that I have. But the idea is we're going to add this piece and then add the neck to the top to do the 4-inch extension. Yeah, it's going to be a little off, but it's going to do what I need it to do, and it's going to serve its purpose. So I'll get you set back up, do some welding. All right, so this is what we ended up with. Not tacks. These are, solid passes. Yes, it is open on the front. I may fill those in if I feel like I need to here in the future. We'll see when I get this thing all set up, but it's been welded completely around on 3 sides. And like I was saying earlier, the frame itself isn't that much. I mean, we're talking, man, it can't be 200 pounds, to be honest with you. It's, I mean, maybe, okay, so let's say 250. I mean, me and a buddy moved it, and it went a hell of a lot easier than I thought it would. So this should serve the purpose that I needed to. So yeah, that's where I'm at with this. And next we'll get this thing assembled back together and try to get a measurement and figure out where I would like to bolt this thing in at. Probably all 4 corners. I've got some 2x2 box that I'm going to use probably for the outriggers to bolt this to. So hang tight, we'll get some measurements and back at it. Almost forgot, when it comes to welding and doing the grinding, if you're a first timer at home who's never done this stuff, invest in a welding jacket. It doesn't have to be leather, it can be one of these. You can get these in any welding supply store, and I think Harbor Freight even carries these. Obviously, welding gloves, yes, I know, guys don't like to wear them, but it prevents you from getting burns and stuff like that. Next, safety glasses. Always wear these things when I'm grinding and cutting and welding. I've been welding for a very long time, and I've had sparks go in my helmet and stuff like that, and it's just, you never know. So, and also hearing protection. You guys saw me in the earlier cut that I was wearing those earplugs hanging up. Sorry, right there. So yeah, just a quick word for safety. Take care of yourself, okay? That way you can continue to do this for a long time. Okay, so the idea now is that I have both of the rotating parts of the engine stands, and trying to find pretty much center of that guy right there, as well as that one, and weld my crossbar that will go out to my frame, the ends of my frame, so I can bolt the frame to it. Yeah, are they going to be exact? Obviously no. They're 2 different engine stand makers, 2 different companies. But I'm gonna get it as close as I can, and all I really need to do is rotate. Yeah, it may not be perfectly level and straight when I get everything, up in the air, but it's gonna do exactly what I need it to do. So I'm gonna get the paint ground off this. Yes, I am gonna weld right to these because these are just extra ones. I have another one, I actually have a 3rd one, and anything I weld to this, I can cut off if I ever need to. So I can use it as an engine stand again. But to be honest with you, the Harbor Freight one that you saw me modify, that was just for this project. It was 20 bucks on Facebook Marketplace. So yeah, I mean, it's 20 bucks, big deal. But the other one I definitely will keep, and it's a lot more heavier duty, as you could see earlier. It's pretty well made. It's an old school one. So I'm gonna grind the paint off these, get some measurements, figure out the width of this frame and how I want to do the brackets for that, and get my steel out and get that cut, and I'll bring you back, so hang tight. the idea. Not a whole lot of science involved, not super high tech, just something that will do what I need it to do. So now that I got those mocked up, of course, the front and the rear are different measurements because the track width of the frame is different front and rear. Obviously the front's wider on just the frame itself. I can't speak for the suspension. I don't have those measurements off the top of my head, but now that those are tacked on, I can go ahead and solid weld those and then make the support pieces that will come off this way that I can bolt to the sides of the frame, both front and rear. So hang tight, get you up on a time lapse. Okay, so now the idea is that you guys just saw that I got everything welded up and welded pretty solid for the most part. What I did was just find center line of the crossbar that you saw me make, and then center line of the engine stand itself. And just lined everything up the best I could. So now you can kind of see, I don't know how well you'll be able to see from your vantage point. It's as simple as laying this on top of the frame, getting it centered to the chassis, finding your center line, and then I made it long enough, I'll come back and clean those up. I made it long enough to where I could take extra 2x2 or plate steel, not really sure yet, weld those, and then those simply just get bolted to the frame. Sorry, you guys can see that. Box tubing, weld it to the side, like that, on both sides. Basically just creating a cradle that will go around the whole entire frame. I may not use this box tubing, I may actually just use plate steel because I have some of that laying around. But that's the idea. So let's see. I'm gonna get some of those cut. It'll take me a few minutes here, but there's a better look. Sorry guys, I'm not very good at this camera stuff yet, just trying to wing it as I go. It's more difficult than you think to stop, record, weld, stop, wash, rinse, repeat over and over and over. So those guys that can do it really well, my hat's off to you, but so that's the idea. Set you up on a time lapse. I'll get some either plate steel or box tubing cut, I'm not sure which. Then we'll get them bolted on and try to get this thing up on the rotisserie and see if it'll spin. Hang tight. All right, everybody, I know this is a lot of time lapse, but I'm doing some stuff that there's really just not a whole lot of talking that I can really do. It's pretty self-explanatory. Once these are welded on, which I don't think that's gonna go anywhere, guys. Of course, I'll come back and clean up all the sharp edges, but they're welded both sides. So that's the front bar that will bolt onto the frame. And during the time lapse, I showed you guys, let's see, what did I do with it? Oh, here it is. That bolt there, so that's just one of the engine stand bolts that came with the engine stand. So, and I happen to have a close hole, it's a hole diameter size in the front. So that should work out just fine. So yeah, pretty easy project, guys. Pretty self-explanatory, like I said. Just takes time, takes a little bit of equipment. I'll go ahead and get the rear made up, and then we'll bolt everything to the frame and try to get these things up try to get this frame up on the hoist or on stands. So bear with me, bring you back. And we're back. So I had to skip a little bit ahead from last time you guys saw me. I just got to where I couldn't really do a whole lot of recording, and there wasn't really much to record, to be honest with you, but putting this thing on the stands. So I'll go ahead and show you that now. So here it is. Nothing much to it. Engine stand, rear bar, engine stand, front bar. Got a center support that is momentarily just tacked together because I wasn't sure exactly how much of an effect that was going to have. But I've actually had the chance to rotate this just a little bit, and I can tell you there is a design flaw in my rotisserie, and a lot of it has to do with the setback of the engine hoist. Engine stand. So engine stands have a kickback because of the added weight that goes on them. They just about level out. I really hadn't taken that into consideration when I started to do this. So I think my solution to fixing that is to take a small little pie cut, maybe no more width of a grinding disc, bring that back to level, and then weld it back together. That way this whole thing can spin freely and not be bound up, because right now the two hoists are working against each other. So that's something I hadn't really considered when I first started to do this. But you know, you don't know unless you try. So it's got plenty of height. For me, it's roughly about waist high at the control where the A-arm would bolt. So that's perfect for me, allowing me to get in and weld all this stuff up and not have to be down on the floor. So I'll set you guys up real quick and I'll try to articulate this thing, and you guys can see what I'm talking about, and show you the design flaw and I think the remedy that's going to fix it. So hopefully that's clear for you guys. Hopefully the light's not messing it all up. Hang tight. So I can get roughly almost halfway. Keep an eye on the center support. It's going to have some twist to it, and I think I might change up that design a little bit to make it a little stronger. But I can get about right there, and then it wants to bind on the other side about that far. And I think that's because, like I said earlier, the engine hoists are fighting against one another because they both have kickback built into their design. So I'll take a little wedge cut, but I mean, you can see I'm one hand, so that's going to help me a lot when it comes time to start welding and fabricating, and you know, not being down on the ground. Nobody wants to do that. So we're almost there. Just a little bit more work to the design, and I think I'll have a home run here. Holding this fine, but you can see the kickback that's built into this. So I think I'm going to take that wedge cut out, like I said. Also, you know, here's a close-up of the flex of the center. Don't know how well that shows up for you guys on camera, but there she is. Roughly about 3 hours to get to this point, and that's including the time it took me to go pick this hoist up this morning when I purchased it. But guys and ladies, this isn't anything that you can't do at home. And to be honest with you, a lot of the steel I already had, but where I live, my local steel yard has what they call drops, or basically they just sell used steel, it's got surface rust, or somebody's bought a full piece and only needed a short piece, so they sell the remaining piece. They call that a drop. So I get it by the pound, and I don't know where, you know, obviously where you guys live, but here it's about 70 cents a pound right now. So the other engine stand I had, so this whole thing was literally less than 50 bucks. And yeah, I can't rotate it completely all the way, but I think once I take the pie cuts and straighten them up a little bit, I think it's going to rotate just fine. So something I wanted to show everybody. I don't really think I showed this last time. That is a factory weld. That's passenger side. So here's driver. About an inch long weld. That's on the shock perch. Look at that guy. I don't know if that was done at 4:59 on a Friday or 7:31 on a Monday, but whew, that's rough. And something else I noticed when I was looking at it earlier today. You're not gonna believe this. That is a broken weld. It's not anything I could see before I took it to the blaster. So when you guys are doing, you know, your own cars or any car, I don't care if it's a G-body or it could be anything, you guys, you know, look over everything. You know, if you put hydraulics on a car, check everything out, because you know, these things got a story, and if they could tell us that story, I can only imagine what they would say. So anyways, this is going to be coming off as well as that one. I'm not putting shocks on this car. That's going to go. So what else was I wanting to talk about? So I think I'm going to start a segment here on the channel. I'm going to call it Speak On It, and basically it's just a topic that I'm thinking about, and you know, I'm sure other people out there might be thinking about the same thing. One of those would be what's going on right now in the lowriding, I guess you could say, lowriding community. I'm not a West Coast guy. I'm not from the West Coast. I'm a Midwest guy, but lowriding's been pretty strong around here for, I don't know, probably since the mid-90s. And it's growing like I've never seen it grow before. Yes, it had its heyday around here, you know, the mid-90s to the mid-2000s. But I think the demographic and the age group around here that's into lowriding is starting to find it again, because, you know, life changes, circumstance changes, you know, money changes. People my age who are finding it again are building stuff like you wouldn't believe around here. So that's a really cool thing. I know the companies are selling out faster than they can make the parts. I hear Alex talk about it a lot. I know our local, and I say local, it's actually Kentucky, but Cool Cars, CCE, Brian Gillespie, the owner, they just around the clock cannot keep up. And this is everything I've been told here is through the grapevine, and so take it with a grain of salt, but I have no reason to not believe it. CCE and their cylinders, they sell out. As soon as they get a batch, they're gone. And that's a good thing, and it's a bad thing. Bad thing, yeah, because it's harder to get, but good thing because there are people out there that are doing things again and bringing this stuff back to the forefront and putting it back on the map and introducing a whole new generation to lowriding that was never had anything to do with it other than maybe seeing it on a music video. So kudos to those companies and those people out there doing those builds and keeping that stuff going. And so that's just my topic for this video. So comment below if you got a car that you're building or a project you're working on, or got any questions about anything you see here that I'm doing. I'm not an expert. I'll never claim to be an expert, and I'm always willing to learn, always willing to grow when it comes to these kinds of things. So if you got something, comment below. Say, hey, try this next time or try that, and I'll give it a shot. And the commenting that everybody's been doing, awesome, as always. You guys are great. So I hope this has been a good video and informational for anyone who's looking to do this. And sorry about the long time lapses again, but it's just I'm a one-man band here, so that's just how it is. But take care, and we'll see you next time. Peace.